Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our session on the dating scene in contemporary South Africa. Sizothetha izinto zomjolo, heartbreak, bazokuhura. And tonight, joining me, I have Dudu Busani Dube, Lebohang Masango, and Tabile Shange. All these three women, fabulous women, have all got fabulous books that also touch on the hot topic of dating. So before we start, I'll introduce myself. I'm Suwolu Nyati. You all know me as Su Nyati, and I've authored 4 books, 4 novels, and edited one non-fiction anthology. But tonight is not about me. It's about these 3 fabulous ladies, and I'll hand over them to introduce themselves to you.
Hi. Oh, it's on. Thank you for being here at 7 in the evening. I am Dudu Busani Dube. I write books. I write novels, fictional novels. I have 6 so far. This is my latest. It's a series of books that talk about a lot of things, from Jolo to marriage to a whole lot of issues that affect South Africa.
Hello, can you hear me? Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Lebohang Masango, and I am an anthropologist, an author, and a poet. I've written a few children's books, mainly in the Boomies Magic Beads series, and this is my first book for adults, and it is based on my master's thesis. Thank you for coming on a Sunday.
Good evening, everyone. I hope you still have energy for this session. It's the last one today. Can I confirm that you have energy for the session? Okay, I'm Tabile Shange. I'm an author, journalist by profession. I have 2 books. The first one, titled The Morning After. It's a short story, perfect for young adults. So it's a teen what do you call it? Edutainment type of thing. And this is my second novel, called In the Midst, my first novel actually, my debut novel, called In the Midst of It All. Yeah, and basically I'm an author. I love reading, I love writing. I feel like if you're a reader, you love writing. So yeah, I'm very excited about this debut novel.
The Morning After, what an interesting title, eh?
Yeah.
Makes us ask questions. Who's responsible for buying the Morning After pill? Eh? I'll let you linger on that. But before we jump in, I think it's important that we start by defining what dating is, so that we're all on the same page. I mean, I was born in 1978. Yes, I'm giving my age away. That's deliberate. And I haven't been married, which means technically I never left the dating pool. But this is not to say that I was dating, consistently throughout. So I do have over 20 years of dating experience. But sometimes I got knocked out, penalty shootout. So you take a break, injury, and you retire from the game. But somehow you wake up and limp back in. So I mean, I started dating in the 90s, and dating then and dating now is very different. And I always wish we could go back to the good old days. So it's different. So I think maybe let's define what dating is from our speakers, and because my term is definitely, it's outdated. So I'm no longer relevant, and I always feel sorry for people who are divorced, who got married in their 20s, got divorced in their 40s, and have to come into this dating scene, and they don't understand, because it's changed. So, Dudu, let's start with you. What does dating mean to you?
Listen, and we were talking about that because I was saying I do not understand umjolo. I'm bad with relationships, all of them. All of them, umjolo is the worst. And I've been married half of my adult life. So the last time I dated, I was in I was like 25, 26 in 2006, 7. But it was different at our time. So at this time, I don't even know what is happening now could be called dating. Do people, do they ask you out? Yeah. And then yeah, ne? Or do they, or yeah, we understand. So does the guys, akufune, akubone, akhulume nawe, ati, can I take you out? Or sendeli DM, hi.
No, the number you are.
Because with us, yabon, with us, umfana wayekubona, umfana would find a way, abuze abangani bakho, what's her name, what does she like, and then to you and be nice and play with words, try go by charma, yabona, and look good. Yes, and look good and smell nice so that he can impress you. He didn't have to have anything, or a car or anything expensive. He would just, use his charm and his words. And you're going to say no, even if you like him, just to make him work hard for it. Exactly. And even after you say yes, he still has to impress you and charm you. Until. So different. I think it's I don't know, people are more open, women are more free, there's this thing of a woman being easy is not a thing anymore, because with us there was that also. And I think and people are just able to agree on something, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. I don't know.
I don't know
I
if they
don't
agree,
get-
but I think I liked what you were saying. I think we're from the same generation, dude, in the sense that guys were intentional then. Like Ujabu Kanyile said, amadoda akasakwazi ukushela intombi. Ucela number 4 nosuqomile, like Utabile said. There's no poetry in it anymore. It's just, like a DM. What is it DM? Anyway, over to you, Lebo.
So in my book, right, the reason why I wrote it is because I'm very interested in the world of love and romance and dating. And so I spoke to 5 young women about their dating lives. And they are the ones who are intentional in picking partners who they feel are equally matched to their ambition. So I speak to 5 young women who are career driven, who are motivated, who want the best of life. And so they are insistent on having partners who match that energy, to use that phrase. And so my interest started with, in 2015, 2016, there was that blessers and blessees phenomenon. And so what I don't like about that and the way that South African media tends to speak about black women and love is that it's always like from a very negative perspective, lots of shaming, very myopic, lots of kind of reductive language around women's choices and women's freedoms. And so I wanted to ask those women in those situations about what their motivations are for dating in the way they date and for wanting what they want out of partners, and to just understand, is it really this shameful, awful, horrible thing? Are they really responsible for the immorality that is running rampant in society, as some people would have you believe? Or are these just young women who are making their choices because they have choices to make in this economy, knowing the difficulties that we're all facing with the crumbling infrastructure around us, with our uncertain futures, with unemployment, with crime. When you try to think of your future as a human being and you think of something that is your birthright, love, relationship, companionship, joy, delight, what kind of partner do you envision for yourself? And so just to answer Sue's question about what is dating, for these young women, dating then is not just a flippant, frivolous thing, but it matters who they are dating, because they also don't want to just end up with children, with people that can't look after the children, although this one young woman is in that situation. But it's just what I love about social media, what I love about the era that we're in, what I love about young women being unapologetic, is that they're really taking a step back and realizing that I don't have to just be with anybody. You know, I'm allowed to exercise some restraint, I'm allowed to exercise some discrimination, and this is how I exercise self-determination and self-preservation, you know, for myself and my future. Yeah.
Thank you, Lebo. I love that take. Round of applause for Lebo. And what I like about Lebo's take is it speaks to that thing in the Bible that says you must not be equally yoked. And what that means is not just like equally yoked in terms of belief system. It's a lot of other things, right? But you know, when suddenly someone puts it like, I want a man who's financially stable, independent, suddenly it's like, yeah, you know, but that's what it is. The equally yoked. You know, you look at yourself and you should be with someone who's a mirror of what, you know, you want, you know. And but then, you know, that also, there's a backlash towards that. So thank you for that, Lebo. Over to you, Tabini.
I love what you said about being unequally yoked with someone. It's, for me, dating is, as much as we need to get to know each other, we need to be, you know, equally yoked. Yes, I love what you said about being equally yoked. For me, okay, for me, dating is obviously getting to know someone. And as a Christian woman, I want to be with someone who, you know, how can I put this? I don't want to take you to church, guys. I know it's Sunday.
Take it.
Yeah, because for me, what I look at, I've learned to let go of, you know, the physical, like, you know, like how many people say, I want a tall, dark, and handsome guy. That, you know, it's okay to be, you know, to have a type, but for me, what's most important is, you know, again, speaking from a Christian perspective, for me, the guy has to have a relationship with God. So yeah, those are the things that I look at, and you know, the vision. Like, what's your vision? Where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? And most importantly, your intentions. So for me, that's dating for me, to get to know each other and to understand intentions. You know, I don't know if you guys get me, but yeah.
We get you.
Thank you. I know.
Dash our hopes.
Also, let me keep on to that home. Thank you so much.
So, ladies, all of you are very articulate writers, and a lot of us first learned about romance and dating through a book. And I remember I grew up on Sweet Valley High, and then then I graduated to Mill. And we all had this fairy tale idea of romance and what it should look like. Do you think books are misleading in terms of expectations? And as writers, do you think you also build up expectations to your readers about what romance looks like? Over to you, Dudu.
Yeah, look, I think I have done a good job at that. At really just creating hopes and dreams and the craziest thing is that I use taxi drivers to do that.
Yeah.
This is a flawed. They very typical men. They're like 80-20. They very good, and then when they're bad, they're very bad. But I think it does. I mean, people have gone to Brie to look for Mkhele, even though I say all the time that these people do not exist. So they look for them in their men. They look for them. I mean, and that's not a bad thing. But what I think it does is that it kind of gives women an idea of, this is how a man can love you. It's possible. They are okay, well, they're bad and they're good, but it does kind of give, and some men who read the books as well, this is women want. This is how women would like to be loved. But I mean, it's stories, it's fiction. I mean, every medium does it: TV, books, and all of that. And I think it's a great escape for some people to just be in the relationship with the character and fall in love with the character and just experience that kind of love, even though it's an illusion, maybe.
Yeah, but you did that well because everybody was looking for Mkhele. Yeah?
Yeah.
High and low. Every and all. Were you two level? Again. About it. Okay. So Tabile, do you think in your book you build up expectations in terms of romance and relationships?
Well, for this book, no. Can you hear me? For this book, no, I didn't. But in that I will not build expectations for my other book because I don't think there's anything wrong, guys. Because who said we read to escape from the realities of our lives. So in this book, I don't think I've created any expectations because for most people, okay, for those who are not familiar with my book, it's basically about a couple actually, Nandi and Femi, a Zulu woman in a relationship with a Nigerian Yoruba guy. Yeah, are you surprised? But yeah, for a lot of people assume that if you're in a relationship with a Nigerian guy, then automatically soft life. Like, you know, all these expensive trips, expensive, you know, gifts, what. But in my book, I don't have that. You know, the guy is a mechanic with his own workshop. He's not poor, but, you know, it's not that extravagant lifestyle. So I don't think I've created any expectations or yeah, but I will probably do that for other books. There's nothing wrong with creating, you know, unrealistic, if you may.
Yeah, because it's escapism. Literature is supposed to be that. But Lebo, I know your book is non-fiction because it's based on your thesis. So maybe the question to you would be, do you think the women in your book have high expectations of what they want? Do you think those expectations are realistic?
So, yeah, I think that they are. And I think that, you know, with something like the soft life, what I realized is that it is what each woman makes of it, you know, because we're all coming from different starts in life. We are all coming from different socioeconomic backgrounds. And so what softness, comfort, luxury means to me might not mean the same for you because we come from different circumstances. And so what I enjoyed about this process was just getting into the psyche of how young women in their 20s and 30s are thinking about themselves within the context of the socioeconomics of South Africa and how they're thinking about their futures. Because there's a way of engaging with, for instance, social media and perhaps expecting your life to have for you to reach certain milestones, for you to get certain material things. And then once you step into the world of work, you realize that things are different. Or once you get into a relationship, you realize that, you know, things are so much more different. And so when the soft life became popular, it was in 2020, and I recall because the COVID pandemic was happening, and a lot of people were talking about it on social media, and I found that so incongruent. Like, how can everyone be experiencing this mass global despair? How can everyone be going through heartbreak from losing loved ones, losing jobs, being so uncertain about what this disease is and what its implications will be to all of us, and yet there's this insistence on like, oh, I want to be a soft girl, I want to live a soft life. I found that fascinating. And because I'm an anthropologist and I study with people, I decided to make that the basis of the first chapter, which is soft life versus South Africa. Like, what does it mean to have a soft life when everything is crumbling, okay? Everything is crumbling. What does it exactly mean? And so what I found and what some readers have been mad at, actually, let me tell you about the readers. The readers are so upset with me because it's like, no, but this isn't soft life. This is like ordinary life. Why did you call it soft life instead of ordinary life? And for me, it's like, if you are going to be attendant to a criminal enterprise, then you can live a very soft life in South Africa, right? Because every day when we go into the tabloids and we look, there are many industry women or influencer women who are being exposed for being with like kingpins and criminals, right? That's the reality of accessing the soft life in South Africa. But if you have got particular morals, if you are not interested in going to jail, if you're not interested in like your assets being seized or anything like that, or being splashed on the front page of a tabloid, if you just want to live a hard working life with your partner, then yeah, your standard might end up being more ordinary than like super luxe and super soft. And that's just the reality of being 1 in 60 million people in a very poor country. Because South Africa is a very poor country, you know? So yeah, people's reactions have been so mixed and so interesting, because I think people wanted me to sell a fantasy, but because I am a researcher, because I work with human being stories, because I'm interested in the truth of life, and that is what is portrayed, I hope that people can be okay with the fact that the truth is not always so exciting. Yeah.
I think what you did there was you grounded those expectations in reality.
Yeah.
And that made them upset. I mean, the reality is most people can't afford that kind of life. Even if you're both hardworking, earning salaries, there's tax, there's debit orders, and by the end of the day, you're not taking holidays to Mauritius every other week. It's not going to happen. Yeah. Anyway, after that sobering thought, let's talk about where do we meet guys or girls, and yeah, where do we meet people that we want to date? Sihlangana kuphi, guys? You know, is it in public transport? In traffic? I met someone in traffic once. It was, you know, a jam, you know, bumper to bumper, and he asked me for my number, and it was like, but he got it, and yeah, we did go on a date. So I want to know from you guys, where are we meeting people nowadays? And I'm talking about physically. Let's leave the virtual for now.
Okay, well, I haven't met anyone.
Where did you meet your husband? Maybe let's take it there.
It was a long time ago. I was like in my early 20s. I met him on email, on a chain email.
Oh, okay.
Like,
So maybe
that's
virtual.
yeah. And he just me out of like 30 people in the chain email. So that's another story. But I think, and I'm talking about like dating in your 40s, which I'm not currently doing, but I found that abantu besilisa bashelana, you know, supermarket or with traffic.
With traffic,
as well.
yes.
Yeah, but also, you know, a man who is the proper age for me to date is probably married or has 3 kids, 4 kids, and is at the supermarket to buy something his wife asked him over WhatsApp to buy. And it's just also, you don't really, you know, pay attention to those people. And the thing about I think our age and why it's sometimes very difficult for us is that, look, I was born in the 80s. Most of us were born in the late 70s, early mid 80s. They call us breadwinners, you know. So we we're in our 40s. We've done very well for ourselves. We you know, we pay our own bills, we buy our own things. We are sort of like that type of generation. So when it comes to us, men are not exactly, you know, sort of challenge their egos. And that's what I've seen with even my friends who are the same age as me. So let me tell you a story. I was in Joburg for a long time, came back to KZN, and I realized that the one thing I had forgotten, Uguti, men in KZN, Bashelan. There's that, you know, that thing that oh, you are out of my league, you are, I mean, you yeah, like, but Sheila, you understand? The security guard at the gate. You know, yeah, they do that. You understand?
But kumnandi ushelwa, it boosts your confidence, even if you're
It
security.
does.
Yeah, it does.
But that's what I'm saying. Ukuthi, especially wala, you know, they kind of don't. If you're a woman, you're a woman. Bazokushela, and then ngisho ungajola naye umunye uzongenisa lapha egate upake imoto yakhe enkulu laphayana mawuphuma uyakushela that lindele ne-5 rand ezomnika yona when you leave so it's like that so shela and then you get into a relationship with him and once you get into that relationship now he doesn't want this woman with a big car now he wants a woman who is going to be under him and submissive to him. So that's another thing that's like a big challenge in dating at our age. I think some of us would do younger men.
No, it's a reality.
Yeah.
So,
So-
Shelo, I'm 30 somethings.
Yeah, but also like, what are you going to do? What are you going to talk? What are they going to buy you on your birthday? Like, like I want a washing machine. I want an air fryer. You know, that age where I tap out saying like you can't buy me. You can't weird things like shoes from Zara or something. That's what I want.
I totally get you. I totally, yeah, I relate to that. Lebo?
Can I please just read you how I wish I would meet somebody, okay? So Jolie, I was walking to campus and saw this car drive past and I thought, ooh, that's a nice car. But I only looked on because I could see that the driver was looking at me. It was a Maserati. And I thought, what kind of douchebag drives a Maserati at 10 a.m. on a Thursday? So I kept walking and I thought it was weird that he was following me. Now I could see that he's driving behind me and he just stopped his car in the middle of the road. He came out and said, excuse me, excuse me. I was like, what are you doing? Anyone could just jump in and drive off. And he said, I just really wanted to talk to you. Because I was holding my phone, he asked for my number, so I gave it to him and said I had to go to class. As I turned to leave, he said, I'll call you later for lunch. And I was like, okay, if you insist, and just kept going. I thought it was so weird. Then he texted me, I'm the guy who stopped my car. And I was like, oh, hi, what's going on? I thought, what does a guy who drives a Maserati possibly want with a student? And so began the romance between the then 23-year-old Jolie and 39-year-old Mangaliso, a jet-setting actuarial executive who quickly assured her that his intentions were nothing but pure, and they went on to date for 5 years. And every time I talk to her and she tells me that story, I'm just like, don't I wish? But no, that's not happening for the average person. Some of the women in this book, Uno Monde met her partner because he gate crashed a dinner party she was hosting for her friends. Some other person met other people virtually, but we'll go to that. But in terms of me, I have not spoken much about myself. I just prefer to meet people at work. I want to see what you're doing. I want to see if your work has integrity. And I just want to see that you respect yourself enough to have an honest form of income. And that's how I like to meet people, working. But also I do lots of things for work as well. So I get to meet lots of people in lots of industries. Yeah.
Do you know what they say about dating in the workplace? Don't eat where you shit.
Yes, but I don't have a workplace. That's the cool thing about being a writer, right? Like my workplace is my house, and then everywhere else is just like out of office, doing a few things.
Okay. Over to you, Tabile. Where are you meeting?
Well, guys, men and women are everywhere. So there's no specific place. Yeah, they're everywhere. The last time I gave a guy my number was last month. I was in Joburg. Oh, I was at the airport. So, okay, the guy lied. Okay, the reason why I gave. So I meet this guy and he offers case. So here we go. And then we started talking what he does. I won't mention where he works. I do social media and social media marketing and as well as writing. But the work part is my side hustle. This is my main work. So yeah, we began talking, and yeah, I mentioned that I am looking to to move to Joburg because I'm based in Durban. So he tells me that, there's an opening in my workplace and maybe I can introduce you to so and so. And then I gave him my number, guys. And then, and when we started chatting on WhatsApp, he told me that he'll have a meeting with this person, and then maybe, maybe tell them more about myself and what I do. And then it was after 2 days, he started telling me, oh, the moment I saw you, I was like, blah, blah, blah. And guys, look, oh, I was so deceived. Guys, and he started, yeah. Long story short, guys, where women are everywhere. Yeah, there's no specific place where, okay, maybe meet guys at restaurants and what's what. So, yeah.
And like just to add to that, when you say the guy lied to you, I don't know if I'm the only one who kind of sees it, some very psycho energy from a lot of guys
Exactly.
these days.
That's, yeah. Because, wow, wow.
There's very
Yeah.
psycho energy and some
And-
a little bit of like
Yes.
aggression.
And also,
in
yeah,
in
it's being
wanting
a
to talk
coward.
to you.
Why ngangsheli on the spot? Why?
Yeah.
Yes, it's being, come on. Like, how can you try? So, yeah, I was
Yeah.
very mad and,
Yeah, and even in the online, Koboma inbox, if you don't respond, like umuntu wakhona kancane just to swear to you,
yeah.
and yeah, it's a bit
Yeah.
scary. Yeah.
It's hectic because it also brings the question of safety, because you don't know if you're meeting a genuine person or a psychopath, and it makes the first date even scarier of someone like you don't know what to expect. So let's move on to online dating. I think it's become the biggest thing now. I mean, it's reported that in South Africa, people spend on average 3 hours 37 minutes on social media every day. So it makes sense that you would also meet people there. So DMs have become popular, we've heard. People are DMing each other on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. People have hooked up on Facebook. It's become also, and LinkedIn as well. I hear
dating apps.
someone told me they met their husband on LinkedIn. So don't LinkedIn, guys. And then
It's dating for professionals.
if you're looking for that equally yoked vibe, yeah, LinkedIn's your plug. I don't speed dating. Speed dating is physical. So let's talk about online dating and Tinder. Has anyone tried dating apps?
Before, yeah. Before,
I don't
yeah.
believe in them.
Firstly, wait.
I don't believe in dating apps. I don't believe
Guys,
in
do
them.
we still have speed dating?
Yes.
We do.
Really?
Yeah, still do.
Okay. Yeah, and then you give like 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Yeah.
Wow, okay. Well, I tried Tinder once. Okay, no, twice, guys. Twice.
No shame. Absolutely no shame.
I felt for me, guys, I didn't like it. I'm not gonna say I didn't like it because there were too many people, there were too many options. And then for me, I get bored easily. You talk, blah, 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 blah. I prefer face to face, to be honest. Because with Tinder, you have options, talk to this guy and this guy, and I didn't like that. I felt like, yeah, like there's no points in this. So, huh?
But that's dating.
No,
Yeah.
for me, I chickened out meeting somebody that I met on Tinder. It all because I got bored. It's the same thing with a different person. It wasn't for me. I tried once. I tried twice. Not going there. And another thing with online dating, I hate when send me. Hate it. Even if you want to see my pictures, they are there. Why? And you? What's so special about my pictures? Oh, yeah, guys. Thank you. We do not like that, man. We do not. So prefer face to face, meeting somebody, instead of.
Yeah, I also prefer the good, old-fashioned way, face to face. I tried Tinder once, and I dropped out simply because I kept meeting married men who are on Tinder. They weren't looking. They're also looking for. Married men do date, by the way.
Yeah.
So
Everyone.
And I think for me, I was looking for, single and available men. So that was a turn off for me. So that's why I then quit Tinder. But I think Tinder's works if you're younger. Because my
Yeah.
sister actually met her husband through Tinder. Um, he on that day, I think he was meeting four girls that he met on Tinder, and then he met my sister. Then he was like, never mind. He didn't even
Yeah.
bother to, yeah, and that the rest is history. So I think it does work, but I think at a certain age, it works. I'm not sure about 40 plus.
I
Yeah,
think it
no.
can.
Yeah.
Over to you.
So in the book, there's a young woman. Her name is Nomonde, and Nomonde spends. There's a part in the book where she spends a lot of time on social media, and when I was interviewing her, she showed me a gallery of dick pics. So she has a very big album dedicated to dick pics. And so I was like, what's up with this? And she just explained that, what Tinder and online dating give to her is a form of distance and safety where she can interact with men with absolutely no consequence. And she can, get to know them or not, but really she's just there to entertain herself and the time goes by. And she's just like, you would be so surprised at how easy it is to get a man to send a dick pic. Like, you just ask and they send, and she just like scrolls through them for fun. Hey, yeah. So I was obviously disturbed by that information because I don't know that. I've never requested one, but also it obviously is strange to me that you would sit with an album of multitudes of them from multitudes of people and you just like
I'm surprised
just
that men,
scroll.
I'm
But men
surprised
aren't
women
shy
ask
about
for those
requesting them
pictures.
either.
Yes, exactly. And so conveyed that, by the way. And she's like, oh no, by the time he asks for one back, I've deleted him, or I've just blocked him and moved on to the next. So I found that I don't know what to make of it still. But yeah, she's taking photos of bird watching. That's what she does. So that's the one. And what I found interesting about her story with social media, as you mentioned, that LinkedIn can also be a platform, a professional platform, obviously, where people meet. But she doesn't use normal Tinder because you can get paid for Tinder, and it's got different tiers and gold, Tinder Gold and whatever. Yeah, you've got different kinds, and so she would always access the most expensive one because that's when she'd get to meet like bachelors in Dubai and bachelors in New York because most expensive one, it doesn't restrict you to just like
Yeah, you can
your
change
city or your
locations.
province. You can like look internationally, and so that's the one she decided to pay for. But then there's also other social networks for like Hollywood celebrities, right? That she has access to because she doesn't mind parting with that money because she's a self-sufficient woman. So she pays for those, and then whenever she travels to like Dubai or Greece or wherever, she's able to go on dates with men. And she was telling me, yeah, I have all these international boyfriends. And she says she does it for fun, of course, but the reason why also she does it is because she has a very long history of violence with men, right? And so for her, dating exclusively online and doing so in a way that has so much distance is a way of safety for her. She can entertain herself. She can get the validation and affirmation of being beautiful and desirable without having to physically connect with men. And for her, that's an issue of safety, right? So I think that social media has been fantastic in fostering some safe space that women can negotiate more easily to meet with men in ways that they don't have to always be met with violence. The other example is from Bongi. Bongi is a young woman, and I mean, when I say young woman, she's younger than Nomonde. I think she's 26 or so, or 27. And before she got into a relationship with her particular partner, she was dating multiple men. She's polyamorous. So she'd go on Tinder dates with all these men. And the one time she went on a date with this guy, yeah, she went on a date with this guy, and he was just very clear, this Nigerian guy, and he was very clear about the fact that we're going to the club later, and he invited her into the bedroom, let me tell you. I don't want to give it all away, but he invites her into the bedroom. And so he keeps finding her. It's a party. Like, you know, people are getting ready for the club. It's a lot of people. And he keeps finding her in these private moments. And he keeps, like, fondling her and touching her. And she's so uncomfortable. And later on, he just calls her to the bedroom. And he's sitting on the bed and he's naked. And he's like, listen, before we go to the club, you should sleep with me now, because I don't want us to come back from the club. You're telling me you're drunk. You're telling me stories. So let's just get this out the way now, right? And so she found that so shocking, because he said, if you don't want to do that, it's okay, but there is the option for you to just leave my apartment. And she has gotten there with taxis, right? It's 12 p.m., there are no taxis going back. She doesn't have money for Uber, etc., etc. But in the end, but she always takes a friend with her when she goes out on these dates and so on. And so her and her friend end up deciding, we're gonna leave. Because he said, it's fine if you don't wanna do it, because when we get to the club, there will be a woman willing to come home with me and sleep with me. Like, don't worry, you know? So even though that's like quite shocking, I personally have an appreciation for the fact that he was honest and gave her the choice to leave, which she took, and she left. But that's just one of the stories of, like, yeah, the way that she uses Tinder to bypass violence in a way, but sometimes when men want to be violent, they will be violent. And there's no way to escape that, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the sobering, truth about the other side of dating. And I think, back in the day when we used to date, you weren't even thinking about sex on the first date. It was just coffee, or not even, yeah, it was innocent. And it was really what it was, just getting to know each other, not physically, but, you know, as outside of sex, which, nowadays it's like sex up front. It's different. That's what I meant. It's different now. So let's talk up, you brought up an interesting thing about international dating, across boundaries. And you bring this up in your book, Tabile. When someone dates a Nigerian, Uchineku, there's, eyebrows are raised. But if you're dating a Swiss guy, the reaction is different. Why is that, though?
I don't know. I don't want to say it's self-hate in a way, because I don't believe that, but I want to know why. I actually don't know. It's something that I'm interested to know about, because it's true. Yes, thank you. Yes, stereotypes. It's stereotypes, but besides, there's something else. Yeah, it is. It's Afrophobia. Yeah, 'cause- yeah, yes, yeah. But for me, I don't. Not everyone is the same, and that's not. It's not. It's a fact. Not everyone is the same. And so when when you said it's people raise eyebrows, not only Zimbabweans and African people from other African countries too. So I don't know. It's something that I'd like to research more. Yeah, because no one bats an eye if you're dating an American, a German, or whatever. Actually, people are impressed that
Yeah,
they're not
that's
only
true.
they're
Yeah.
impressed.
Yeah, they are.
But when someone's dating a Nigerian man, a Zimbabwean, Malawian, it's always those stereotypes. Oh, if it's a Nigerian, let me talk about Nigerians now. If it's a Nigerian, oh, she's a gold digger, she's uneducated, oh, all she wants is money, she cannot work for herself. It's all these things, all these stereotypes. Oh, and some men, South African guys, are like, oh, okay, I can't date a woman who's been with a Nigerian man. So yeah, it's those kind of stereotypes, which for women to open themselves up to dating outside their cultures in terms of other African nationalities or cultures. And that's sad and unfortunate, because you'll miss the love of your life, that I am sure of, because you don't even have a personal issue with, and you just see what will people say, what will my family say. It's not even about other people as well. So yeah, to restrict themselves, okay, I'm going to stick with my own kind, which is not a problem, by the way. if it's you, everyone is, you know, it's okay to date. But, you know, for most women, they miss out on of those kind of stereotypes. And yeah, I tackled that in my book. The Unandi, the main character, is on her ex-boyfriend, her ex-South African boyfriend comes around and say, "Oh, I see what you're doing. You are dating foreigners now." And she's like, "Okay, what's wrong with that?" And he starts insulting her. "Oh, these kind of men." He calls all types of, you know, in ways, yeah. So yeah, it's that kind of thing. It's very difficult, and I think it's in South Africa only, because in other African countries, if you're dating, well, it's not that, you know, much. Yeah, it's not in other African countries. So I really want to find out why is that. Besides all the stereotypes, it's that.
Maybe Lebo, that should be the next, your next book.
Yes.
And then, yeah, my final question before we open it up to the floor. Where do we go on first dates? I mean, nowadays you hear Netflix and chill. I don't know. Let's hear it. Where are we going on our first dates?
I think people are, I don't see much effort these days, and it's unfortunate in terms of relationships, first dates, getting to know a person, convincing a person, you know, trying to get them to date you. It's less effort, you know. So first dates, my recommendation: do an activity together, whether it's bowling, maybe movies too, but you must nibble on something, though.
Is for lunch.
The guy,
Lebo.
yes, 50-50. The guy must pay for the date. I don't care. In the end, the guy must pay for the date, and that's that. Yes. Oh, please.
She's right though. I
First
don't know
date
where.
suggestions.
It will have to be something that I like doing. Um, I don't know, the music festival, the outdoor one, a hippie place, a um, yeah, a market, a yeah. But it would have to be something that I love, a space where I'm comfortable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lebo.
I don't know where you guys.
That's so tough.
Where do you want to go for your first date?
Well, I like nice things. So I want to go to a really nice place. I want to go to the best restaurant, right? The best one. And then I want to order all the nice things.
Marble. So marble vibes.
Yeah, marble vibes, all the nice things. And yeah, that's really, and the reason why I want to go to the nice place with the nice things is because I would take myself there, right? I would go there. And so because there are certain places I don't go to, I'm not going to go to them because now I'm with someone else. If you're not going to take me to the places I like to go to already, take me to a place that I've never been to, that maybe I can't even go to on my own, and you'd introduce me to it. So yeah, I like nice things.
like
And
that?
nice things like me.
Hey. Woo. I like that. She's not even apologetic about it. So I think, Lebo, your version of a knight in shining armor is a guy in a Maserati. Am I wrong? Okay. Anyway, I'm going to open up the floor to the questions. I'm going to open up the conversation to the floor. Sorry.
Um, Thank you for that session. I think Lebohang touched a little bit on this, on just the reason for the work that you wrote. I want to know specifically from Tutu and Tabile on the intention of the work that you produced. I know with Tutu, she has continued the Thomu series for a while now, and I think I'd like to know why this work, and also the Tabile, just what was your intention with producing this work?
For me, it was really just about writing stories about stories that reflect our society, especially the black society, black family, black money, black poverty. So I wrote those stories for, okay, no, why am I losing it? So, okay, so it was about who I was writing about, who I was writing for, and who I was talking. So I wanted to write stories that I wanted to read, about people that I wanted to know about and I wanted to connect with, for people who would also love to see themselves represented in the stories in South Africa or in the Black society. And I think I was able to achieve that.
Yeah, I'll also say I wrote this book because it's a book that I wanted to read. I think that's a very important reason for writing a book. For me, I also wanted, as much as I wanted to, entertain, but I also wanted to educate. I wanted to get rid of the common stereotypes that many people, South Africans mostly, seem to have about women who are in relationships with non-South African men, especially men from other countries. So I wanted to show a different side of these South Africa-Nigeria relationships, or Jollof, some of you say that. But yeah, I wanted to not get rid of the stereotypes, because so yeah, I wanted to try and get rid of those stereotypes and show a different perspective to how I'm not going to say all, some of stereotypes can be, some of them are true, but I want a different perspective to these kind of relationships. And, just to show the reader, I would say not all like this, not every woman, not because of financial.
Without anthropology, white supremacy as we know it wouldn't have existed in the form that we know it. So it has a lot to answer for the dehumanization of black people. And so I think it's very important for young black anthropologists working there to try to obviously correct the narratives where possible. And for me, one of the most underserved areas is the area of love, because when colonialists came to Africa, they were very interested in sex and sexuality because they wanted to find ways to prove how black people are animalistic, right? They wanted a way to dehumanize black people, and the body was the easiest site for that kind of violence, right? And so there's a lot of writing on sex and sexuality and anthropologically too. And for me, doing this work right now, where this kind of dehumanization of young black women's choices is continuing, what's important for me is to hopefully get to a place where I and other scholars, and by citing other scholars as well, am able to show that the socioeconomics of our country matters deeply to all of us. It's not just young black women who are thinking about these things. Anyone getting into a marriage, anyone getting into a relationship, regardless of your race, your culture, your tradition, your creed, you are thinking about the rands and cents of life in this country that we live in. And so I'm just hoping that also by focusing on love, to just restore people's humanity in a way that matters so much to me. Because even in my work as a children's book writer, I care deeply about how little girls are represented. And so for me, the logic follows that I care about how women are represented, you know? And so for people who think it's strange that I would go from one extreme to the next, for me, it's the continuation of one purpose, which is restoring the dignity and humanity of Black women specifically. Thank you.
Is it on?
Yes.
Yes, hi. I don't have a question. I did have a comment though. I think I heard about it last year, and basically it was a quiz on 5FM, I think, because that's what I was listening to at the time. And basically the question was, I think it was, what was the question? But the point is, the answer, it was about you, your answer. You said that people aren't putting enough effort on dates. And yes, the question was, which age group is getting into debt because of, dates or the dating scene? And the answer was actually Gen Zs.
No, I said they're not putting enough effort in, yes, dating and relationships. So, for example, let's say a guy, okay, he has won me over, I agree to be his girlfriend. You know, effort goes boom, down.
Yeah.
You know, come on, we're still dating. So, you know, keep up. It's not only financial, but, you know, the love messages, the texts, good morning, and, you know, that kind of effort.
Yeah. No, I just thought it was a fun fact to bring up.
Yeah, it's
That is
consistency.
amazing.
Yeah,
I like that.
men are not consistent. Yeah.
I like that fact though, guys, because you know we're having elections next year, right? And okay, you're thinking about who you're going to vote for, load shedding, crime, water cuts, all of the things that we know, right? But people are getting into debt over dates because the money that should be there for public services isn't there, right? You should be able to go to a public library. You don't, in a functioning society, if you wanted to read books, you should be able to go to a resource library in your municipality. You should be able to go to the public clinic or public hospital. You should be able to receive your mail via the post and not via Postnet. You know, there are so many services that we are not getting, and our monies are being rerouted to private facilities. And then when it comes to something that you deserve, like love and joy and a date, you can't afford it because you've spent all your salary at Dis-Chem buying medication when that shouldn't be the case, you know? So I find that super interesting about the Gen Zs. And it's also interesting because Gen Zs are the ones who are growing up on social media, who have that comparison, competition going on because they see how other people in other socioeconomic contexts are living. And instead of like being hip to the reality that they are under, that I'm in a poor country, there are things that I can't afford. It's like, no, if this girl wants to go to Cream or Marble as a first date and I'm only 18, then, sorry, this is Durban. What is the fanciest restaurant here? I just said Cream and Marble because I'm from Joburg. The Oyster Box, right? So now you're 18 years old, and now with your matric, your matric pocket money, now you must take your girlfriend to the Oyster Box. That is not realistic. But because of TikTok and social media, Gen Zs think that that's how life is being lived. So social media is also such an interesting thing to have to navigate as young people.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. I think social media is also creating unrealistic expectations that most people can't afford. Because you're seeing a lifestyle, you don't know how it's funded, but you're just seeing pictures on the gram. So I think there's actually, you know, the bad side of it. Yeah.
That's true.
Exactly. Because internationally, the girls are like, you know, you're an influencer and you can date a rapper, or you can date an athlete, or you can date an actor, you know? Like, because of the Department of, but because of various inefficiencies in various government departments, being an actor, a writer, a director, an athlete, you're not making that much money, right? In South Africa, you know? And so your equivalent, if you want to live that life, is a scammer, is a politician, who is often a scammer as well. So yeah, it's just very rough also.
True.
Thank you guys for this amazing conversation. For a moment, I felt a little bit excluded because I'm like one moment we're all speaking about guys and how the guys are always paying, but what about the women, right? What about women who like women? So I'm interested in the conversation around like gender performance and sexuality and courtship, right? And those different roles. Maybe it's my TikTok algorithm that's telling me I should look a certain way in order to be attractive to a certain gender. I should perform my sexuality in a certain way in order to be like, hi, I have rainbow on my phone cover. You know what I mean? So it's just like, do you guys think that those different roles and the way in which gender is being performed and the way in which sexuality is being performed has an impact in the current dating scene and how people are courted and how people court? Sorry.
You know, I could attempt that one, ne? But I'm also so very mindful of my right to speak on queer matters. I'm also so mindful because it's possible that I have no right to speak. You know what I'm saying?
And just to add to that, I think we approached the conversation from a heteronormative perspective, and apologies for that if we excluded you. But it's also because I also don't feel I have authority to speak on that. But I think in platforms like this, please do weigh in, and maybe if there are other people in the audience who are able to answer the question, please go for it. Yeah.
Sue? Oh, sorry, I was.
Okay, somebody's
Sorry.
going to answer it.
Sorry, I was the next. Yeah. Firstly, just welcome back to those of you who have been to Town Rider before. Hi, Lebuhang.
Hi.
And welcome to Time of the Writer for Tabile.
Thank you so much.
It's a coincidence that the previous speaker is sitting right behind me, because my main question was going to be the title of the topic presupposes heterosexual relationships. So obviously, the question was obviously going to come up, what about same-sex relationships? So you'll pick up on that now. And then Lebuhang, just to echo what you were saying about the white anthropologist subjugating the indigenous people, you'll recall Rider Haggard and his writings, and how Sigmund Freud picked up on that later and showed that exact point that you were making. I don't know if I'm sure you come across that with Rider Haggard, King Solomon's Mines and those novels that he wrote. Yeah, he described the rolling hills of Zimbabwe as a woman's breasts. So then Freud picked up on that much later and started to link all these things with the associating the African woman, the African physical landscape with the body of the African woman. So that's just an aside. But as an anthropologist, I thought I just want to mention that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks. So yeah, same-sex relationships.
Yeah.
I think I really appreciate your question and kind of opening the conversation up, because it's also, this performance of gender is such an important thing. When you look at queer couples and you think about the unspoken violence that takes place sometimes in queer relationships, and how sometimes it does, because the queer space feels so difficult to kind of open up, but also without you don't want to really create room for attack for something that you're still trying to build. But it is really important, and this is not me attempting to answer your question because I don't know how to. This is me kind of opening up other questions that I would like to throw into this space, into this conversation, because in same-sex relationships where there is a performance of toxic masculinity by one partner over the other partner, and there is no kind of conversation or way of processing that, because no one teaches a young lesbian woman how to be a lesbian woman. Everyone teaches a young girl how to be a heterosexual woman. And so you have to kind of figure it out yourself. And in figuring it out yourself, you're looking at who is modeling what you think is, beautiful behavior. And sometimes, because it's such a heteronormative society, you gravitate towards masculine traits to kind of help explain the performance of something you're trying to figure out. So how do I fit my body and my spirit into this world and into this relationship when I don't always have a sitcom to watch, a soapy to watch, a book to read, an elderly couple to emulate. But it is something that we really do need to think carefully about. Being open enough to say, Ukba, we are open. I mean, we are like, and also because even in queerness, you want to also be more than your sexual orientation. Like, you're a human being. And that being said, it's important for other young queer people to see a performance of queerness.
Hi, everybody. My name is Monique. I am, just so that people know, I should be really serious in answering this. I am a writer. I am a sociologist, a criminologist, I don't know, whatever you want to call me. I just want to say a couple of things. My wife, Julie, over here, is laughing at me. But anyway, I think that what this conversation has done for me, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about something different, is it's a fascinating conversation. And what it shows to me is how much fear there is around how to express ourselves, how to put ourselves forward, the boundaries that exist around who's an acceptable person to be with and who isn't, and what this thing called online dating could do negatively, aside from the dick pics, right? So I think these are conversations that need to be happening more. And I think young women and not so young women like myself need to be sharing these conversations. I'm going to go into my experience in a minute because I think it'll be very interesting. And Tuli says I have to, so I'm going to do it. But I really think, the more young women begin, and women generally talk about the things that are difficult and confronting and complicated, the more we share stories with each other. And I think that's the power of this panel here, is the intimacy of it and being able to talk through other people's stories or through our own stories and be able to navigate that space. I also think, we live in such a non-binary space that it often shocks me that we feel that we can't speak on behalf of or with or together or whatever, because we can, right? Because all of us are so non-binary defined currently, and we need to own that. We need to say, yes, sure, I grew up with the norms of heterosexual women, but we all have other parts of ourselves which we actually need to speak about. We've all been fascinated with women as women at some points in our lives, right? Yeah. But when do we articulate that, and how do we articulate that? So I just wanted to put that out there and just say that. But here's the nice part of it, right? I have exited my 40s already, right? But let me tell you, I have had the best time ever online dating. Like, it's been an app. I'm a professional, yeah. So Tuli knows this, right? And my first husband, I'm about to have my second one, just by the way. My first husband, I met online dating. Wow. And my second one, who I'll be marrying in July, I also met on Tinder, by the way. Nice. He is 18 years younger than me. And I think this is important because it breaks all the barriers that we're speaking about, right? And I am in no way feeling that there's something wrong about me having a man who's 18 years younger than me. That is another norm, right? That women should always be with older men, but we outlive these men by 20 years. Yes. So what is the point, right? So anyhow, it makes no sense. I want all women to find younger men, and I'm telling you it works better. But having said this, by the way, my oldest son is 21, and my partner's oldest daughter is 5. So this is a true story, right? The last thing I wanted to say, and it's something that I've been playing around with, and I'm actually now very serious about it, thanks to this conversation. Aside from being an academic based at a university and all of that kind of stuff, right? I've also trained as a health coach, and what I've realized as a health coach is how lonely people are and how difficult this space is. So I'm going to start doing coaching workshops on online dating. That is a promise. That is a promise. So I want people to come because I think, this will be my last point. We have to step out without fear. We have to get to a point where we say, I am going to be safe because I know how to navigate the space that I'm entering. And it's being able to talk about it and understand what the space is, because unfortunately, or fortunately, for me anyway, the online space is the space. And as you rightly say, Sue, we do everything online. So why would we not date online, and why are we not in a situation where we make ourselves safe? So I'm going to do this, and I'll find a way of circulating it. And I really just want to thank you all for just bringing this out. The other place where I find interesting women stepping out, you're all going to think I'm completely mad, but I'm actually not that crazy. But the place where you do find women stepping out and owning their space, and I find this very fascinating, is in cannabis shops, where women can come in and say, I want to feel X, can you tell me how to get to that feeling? And that is powerful, right? When women can say, I want to feel mellow, I want to feel high, I want to feel this, I want to feel sexual, I want to feel whatever, and own it and buy something that's going to make them feel that way. I love watching those interactions. So I just wanted to put that out there. I know it sounds mad.
Sanbonani.
Yebo.
Thank you for the opportunity. Ikamulungel Zulu. So I'm originally from Enkandla, but Ekhayelkhulu is Gwanongoma. Just to give you a bit of context in terms of me and who I am and my thinking. It's really just a thought to input for consideration, not necessarily my thoughts, but possibly the circles that I would necessarily engage with over a glass of wine. I think there was one where you guys touched on dates. Ordinarily, it would be coffee, for the simple reason of it's short and it allows for an escape should energies not align. It's really that simple. Possibly a second date would then be breakfast before the day actually kicks in and alters your mood. It would also most likely be a weekend because people work. And then also breakfast just sort of allows, if the energies align, for the day to just be extended without it necessarily running into the night before things feel a little weird in terms of where is this now going. And then in terms of relationships, I haven't quite developed this theory sufficiently, but the duration of relationships due to the advancements of civilization and medical advances has evolved to extended periods or durations of being together. Historically, wars and diseases ensured that within a particular lifetime, one was guaranteed to experience numerous multiple relationships because the men would die, then obviously you have to get a new man, or there's disease, your partner is gone, and then you sort of experience various relationships within a lifetime. Maybe this might possibly speak to why so many people, well, not so many, but some people nowadays, in terms of what we see, are very polyamorous in nature. vis-a-vis monogamous. It's just a thing. Maybe it's a theory. Maybe it's real. Maybe it's not real. Maybe it's just thoughts. Maybe I'll develop it more one day. And then pleasure, which, well, one of the benefits of actually relationships. The theory is pleasure is God's gift to women. Biologically, women are better suited for pleasure than men. Well, somehow we've switched this around. What does that mean? Okay. So biologically, a man's orgasm is linked to procreation. Like there's no other way to it. Whilst the woman's orgasm, should she be lucky enough to experience it, isn't necessarily linked to procreation. Just as a thought, biologically. As a man, the minute you have an orgasm, then yeah, probably there might be a little baby down the line. But for women, it's not actually that. But somewhere, somehow, hence I'm saying that in actual fact, even the guys which run around and like, menage a trois and this and that, when you also look at the biological of it, women are better suited for such an activity vis-a-vis men because of the little water breaks that we would then naturally have to take in between vis-a-vis a woman who would be inclined to actually go on a bit longer. These are just biological conversations around some of the benefits of necessarily relationships. Hence, I say men have somehow done something incredible which makes it seem unnatural for women to be the ones who are dating multiple partners vis-a-vis. It's now become more natural for a man to be seen with more, with multiple partners. Yeah, some people frown upon it, but the inclination is that women are frowned more upon vis-a-vis men. Just a few thoughts for, yeah.
Okay.
Good.
So, okay, 17 past. I think we'll take the last few questions. Okay, yeah, I'll be guided by you to tell me to wrap up. Yeah, so you're the last one.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone.
Oh, okay, the last two then. All right.
There's no pressure to end. You're welcome to continue. you know, when things go great and you have multiple orgasms, there's no stopping, and this is what the session is about. This session feels like that, so just continue. We got the whole night, and then tomorrow morning we have the hangover. When I look around the room and I see that I'm the only person with gray hair, and I've lived through 5 generations of dating, and you talk about people being damaged by the stereotypes and the culture and religion and all of that. We've been damaged in multiple ways, kind of thing. And, I'm just going to go to, when the Nats took over our country and our grandparents wanted to date across the color line. And what the Nats did immediately in 1952 after they got into power was introduce the Mixed Marriages Act. But what they didn't realize is that in order to eat nookie, you didn't have to be married. So they then introduced a year later the Immorality Act. And then they realized that, oh my God, not everyone has heterosexual sex, and they introduced the Sodomy Act. And that was, took us through those ages kind of thing. And then, of course, we came to the, with going through the Immorality Act, and, the Mixed Marriages Act, and the Immorality Act, and the Sodomy Act. And then, suddenly it was like, hey, luck strikes. You could have the Mangopi dating if you wanted to cross the border and go to Bophuthatswana for the night and come back. And you could beat that kind of system. And then suddenly you got into the 80s, and, South Africa was kind of relaxing its laws a little more, and the Group Areas Act was falling away. And, for Indian kids, we realized, oh my God, you don't have to run around trees singing Bollywood songs in order to fall in love. You could just do it in other ways, kind of thing. But, we got into the late 80s, and you suddenly realized, oh my God, French kissing was like the in thing for dating. And if you didn't walk around with a love bite on your neck, you hadn't been dated. All these little accreditations. It's like, how many likes do you now get every time, or how many tags do you get on your Tinder or your Grindr or whatever you're using, or LinkedIn kind of thing. How many times do you connect? You know, that time it was, how many love bites are you getting in a week kind of thing. But, you know, and then we got suddenly into 94, and the wonderful Nelson Mandela gave us BEE dating and, you know, constitutional free Viva dating, where you suddenly didn't, all those laws fell away and you could just like date. And we come now into the 2000s and you ask yourself, do we really see as much cross-racial dating in our country? What holds us back still? There must be something. And I think it comes down to what you spoke about so passionately. That it comes down to trust, it comes down to respect, it comes down to safety. And are people feeling that trust, that safety, that mutual respect that you have for each other with a constitution that's liberated us, but values and culture and politics and religion and schools and churches that haven't liberated us as yet to date the other? Thank you.
Hi, ladies. Thank you so much for sharing your gift with us and for being so courageous to actually write. So I don't know how to frame this question, but I'm very interested in the polygamist work, Sue. And I'm trying to figure out how I'm writing furiously here, trying to see how I can link your conversation in your book, your thinking around that, as well, together with Lebo's. Because I'm thinking currently, if you look at Instagram, there seems to be, in certain circles of women who like the finer things in life, who know that they can do the dread for themselves, but still want to be able to have their partner, obviously thinking heterosexually at this point, do certain things for them. So I've sort of been observing a group of very interesting and, I guess, high-flying, it appears, women on Instagram who it is known that they are sharing a certain very influential and powerful group of men. Girl, I don't want to get into it, but I'm interested to know, Sue, what are your thoughts now, and how do you think society has sort of evolved in terms of the understanding or acceptance of polygamy, isithembu? With, I don't know how to frame this question, but a little bit. But I find it very interesting. I myself am in that sort of setup. You know, you don't look for it, you don't ask for it, it just ends up somehow becoming a reality. No, single. So I'm interested to know, to kind of know where you are now on the topic of isithembu and linking it to Lebohang's thing around the soft life and women wanting to be taken care of. I don't know. Is that what it is?
Okay, so to kick it off, I think society is more permissive now about dating married men, right? I mean, during my day, it was like frowned upon, right? But now people openly state it, even on social media. And even married men flaunt their girlfriends on social media. So I think there's an openness around it, and that marriages are not necessarily closed, they're very open. And they're open to add additional, you know, people, participants in the marriages now, right? So I think that's why that book is still very popular, because it's something a lot of people are considering now. It's not even a thing of it's imposed on. Some women are actually choosing it, right? They choose to go into polygamy willingly. I mean, I always say polygamy is always, I mean, not all the time, but a lot of the first wives, the oldest wife, normally, you know, bears the brunt of polygamy. I mean, the others coming into it usually know the parameters, and they are more empowered and more informed when they get into the situation, as opposed to the first wife. So, I mean, I think we're seeing it happen more and more now, and you know, people don't really raise eyebrows about it, you know. So, I don't know. For me, I always say it's all about choices. It's do what makes you sleep better at night, and if it's a choice that you want to make, you need to own it, But yeah, that's how I look at it.
Something to say. What do I want to say? Okay, so Stats SA released their 2020 report around marriages. So marriages in South Africa, customary and civil, have declined. Divorces have also declined, right? And so from me and how I'm thinking about the world, when divorces decline in a society, I mean, our society is not a healthy one, right? Maybe in healthy societies it's a good thing, but because our society isn't a healthy one, what declining divorce and marriage tells me, as someone who's interested in the political economy of love, is that I keep saying it, South Africa is a poor country, right? Because you're too poor to get married, or you can't afford, rather, to get married, but you also can't afford to get divorced. And we know you can't afford to get divorced because we have high GBVF rates and high intimate partner violence rates, right? So with that, we also have got more women than men. Globally, but also in South Africa, women outnumber men, right? But we also have a large male prison population, right? And we also have many men who are homeless. We have many men who are unemployed. There's just, so yes, so as a woman, women have the highest stats for completing matric, for completing university and getting degrees, for purchasing first homes and having assets, right? So there is definitely something to be said about that disparity and that imbalance, because it doesn't serve boys and men, and that is a problem, right? So I just want to say that I do think that that is problematic. But just to go back to the fact that there is this imbalance, it means then that young women or people who are, sorry to be heteronormative once more, but what it means is that if you are heterosexual, then there are less men for you to choose from. Yeah. It shrinks and shrinks. And so that's what polygamy in the first instance, right? The whole reason it existed was also around a socio-economic organization of a community and other reasons as well. And that still continues today. I think it's looking more attractive to more people because it's about resource wars, know? It's about the fact that if you don't get these resources, fine, the wife will get some, but if you as this other girlfriend doesn't get these resources, another girlfriend will get them. And for some people, they don't mind putting themselves on the line for that. So yeah, I think it all comes down to socioeconomics. I think everything comes down to socioeconomics.
Yeah, and remember, we are social creatures, we want companionship. I mean, there's that Bible verse that says there will be a time when women who can take care of themselves, but what you want is that companionship, so that's why then polygamy then makes sense. It's because you don't want anything else from him. Just even if you see him 2 weeks, 2 days in a week, it's that consistency that you're assured of that companionship in that week. Yeah, so it becomes a compromise. Yeah. So there's a burning question at the back.
No, I mean, because I'm partly from Cape Town, and Cape Town has a thing that it does where it opens you up, but doesn't open you up. It's a weird country. Right, I did it. So what Cape Town introduced me to was polyamory, right? And so I wondered, what would the ethics, if we're truly ourselves and we showed up as who we are in our interests, right? How would those ethics of negotiation happen, right? And it's constantly I'm like, how do you negotiate power and these dynamics that happen across gender, right? Within queerness. So I don't know how to pose the question for you guys, but I also want to add to the pot, right, as a commentary. And maybe I'm interested in how your characters negotiate these layeredness of living and being across,
Okay, I just want to say with the femicide rate in this country, that already shows you how negotiating any form of anything is difficult for women. You know, and because that the violent dividend is always is present. And so that makes it really difficult. The negotiating field will never be level, especially in those kind of relationships. It's more likely that someone will get killed, you know, especially with women. So yeah, that's my concern.
Good evening, everyone. So this has been a question that's basically on my mind for quite a while, and what it basically touches into is, you know, we have so many social pressures. There's competitive headaches of you being better than, you know, your friend's partner, and maybe you're not doing as much as the next person. But what I'm not really going to touch on that. What I'm really touching on is, let's put all the social pressures and stuff aside. You've met the person, you're dating for quite a while. Everyone goes through their own things along their life. How do you then unpack your social trauma, how you feel as a person? Because we can say we want all these things. We want to go on dates, you want to be happy, we want a companion, you want to feel loved. But how are you loved authentically if you don't know what your partner is going through and how you can help each other become better people? So my question is, how do we go about that in a healthy way?
Yeah, it's a heavy question, and I'll try and attempt to answer it. I might not do justice if someone else feels they need to add in, but you know, in order for you to be able to open up to someone, you need to be vulnerable, and you can only be vulnerable in a safe space, relationship where you feel safe, and that is a step. You know, those kind of deep change and people being vulnerable, they wounds and secrets. So it's almost like you fall in love, you know, you need someone to catch you so that you don't hit around. That's basically what it is. Yeah. Okay, I think no more questions. I think let's wrap it on over time. Thank you so much for coming through and engaging in this conversation. It looks like it's a conversation that could go on. I'm telling you to take forward. Meeting to run to equip. I think we'll need, you know, those lessons. So yes, thank you for coming through. Yeah, good night. Be safe, and yeah.